I'm M.S. Harkness.
I'm Mehr.
Yeah, and we're both big retreat impresarios, apparently.
Yeah.
As we're not the only people doing this, but I would say that they maybe call it other things in the way of like doing like the Trailer Blaze residency.
I know Liz Yerby does comics retreats.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, they were kind of doing that kind of at the similar time that we were doing ours. And Liz has come to one of the ones that I hosted. But I think that there's demand and interest in doing like a panel like this, just because it was like such a kind of like DIY thing that the both of us did. Where, I mean, maybe the retreat being a name only, that maybe we have different parameters for how we put like ours together. But I think that we would both agree that maybe this is kind of born out of like a need for community that we both were experiencing at one point.
Oh, totally. Like, I remember I read this one interview with Sean Knickerbocker where he was talking about like the infrastructure of comics, and I was like, yes, that's the word, like retreats and Zine Fest. And like, because Zine Fest went away during COVID, that was why he started Rust Belt Review, sort of. And then I was like your retreat inspired me to do my retreat, and like I hope it grows to like people doing lots of retreats. Like.
Yeah. And I'm curious to know all the, I mean, I've like DM'd you about this, but
of course.
The kind of ins and outs of yours, where I'll try to just quickly summarize sort of the parameters of mine, where a comics retreat being that we're talking specifically about cartoonists going, off-road to some extent, paying their way, as opposed to maybe, say, doing residency where you get a stipend or you get a free ride into this like community event. But cartoonists paying to come to essentially get like a hotel in the woods and then all work together for maybe like a week's period of time, and ideally end it with some kind of like tabling event where like you get some money off of it at the end. So theoretically you didn't just like burn through a whole week's worth of work and have like nothing to show for it. But I would say mine being very specifically born out of COVID. I don't necessarily know exactly like if you just went to the retreat I hosted and then were like, I have to do this, but I was very encouraging of that. So
kind of, yeah. And then like both you and Liz were posting things that were like, here's pictures from the retreats. Oh man, this is so good. Like people should do it. And I'm like, yeah, I've organized like, I think at that point like 4 or 5 Zine Fests, and it's like, okay, well, I want to try my hand at a retreat. And then it was just a matter of, what are the parameters of like what I can accomplish, and how do I work with this basic format that I had experienced going to the winter retreat in 2002 that you hosted, and like based on like different locations and like money and other things. I ended up doing like a 3-day retreat at House on the Rock in Spring Green, Wisconsin. Or not at House on the Rock, but like right down the road. So, and
it's like a park or something, or
House on the Rock is this crazy like house that this guy who's an amateur architect and like serious hoarder / collector built in like the 60s. You go on a tour of it, and it's just like you walk around this crazy house that has like a million stairs and like just like fireplaces in the middle of like the kitchen, and just it's like Graceland but a little off to the center, and like he wasn't famous, so but like it's really crazy. I highly recommend everyone go there if they have a chance.
How far away is it from like Chicago?
It is like 3 hours away from Chicago and like 3 hours away from Minneapolis, so that's why I picked it. Is because at first we were like, oh, let's try to meet at the exact halfway point, and then it's like, well, there's nothing really there besides Wisconsin Dells, and that's going to be busy. But
Water Park Comics Retreat would be sick as fuck, though.
That would be really fucking cool. But House on the Rock is this attraction that I've been to before, and I was like, I know people are going to like this because it's like weird, artistic, and there was a really reasonably priced hotel. So I guess I kind of made the format more modular because I didn't have as much money up front to work with. And when you do like a hotel type situation, you can just do 4 people to a room. So I'd be like, okay, well, if I get even 4 people who sign up for this, we can get a room, and that'll be like a mini retreat. And I think we ended up with 10 people, so we had 3 rooms.
Right.
Yeah, so.
Well, and it's just to say, I think a lot of people discount themselves from being able to like organize something like this because I think they don't imagine like the kind of like network that already exists in their brain. Like you knew this place and you were like, this place is sick as hell. This would be awesome to bring people to.
And it was cheap, like.
Right.
Yeah.
Where, and I think people maybe think about the fact that like it needs to take place in a specific kind of location as opposed to just like, somewhere that like has running water, a table, and is not expensive. So in the way of like organizing the one that I did, I mean, it was like moving to Ohio. I'm just evangelical about Ohio. I'm like wearing a Bengals jersey.
Right on.
But Hocking Hills was the location that I've done, the 3 retreats that I've done now, where that's like the most pretty area. So it's like there's only maybe like 70% of the group that wants to go hiking. Everyone else is like, I don't even care that we're outside right now. But in that I can actually like share this weird little gem of a place that, I'm just like trying to tote out as like being like this really cool spot. I'd only maybe hiked there a couple times before I was like, okay, like this is a really good place. And during COVID, I feel like everyone in Ohio was going there for like weird little like weekend getaways. So
yeah.
It was just like okay, why can't we all just like go off into the woods and do this? So when you were soliciting it, you were just doing it on Instagram for the most part, right? Or were you doing it other ways?
So like I guess I mean like I asked my friends first. I was part of this like comics group in Minneapolis. It was like me and Andy Wheeland and Madeline McGrain, and then just like some other people who saw it on like meetup.com or something. And then like we were just a bunch of cartoonists, and I was like, oh, I'd really love to like, because I had moved from Minneapolis to Chicago, and I wanted to like kind of meld the people I knew from each place. So I just kind of asked on this comics Discord that I'm on of people like, hey, do you want to, because people in that Discord had been talking about like doing a House on the Rock trip. And then that kind of fizzled out. And then like I tried to do a retreat with the Minneapolis people and that fizzled out. And I'm like, well, I'll just like announce it because I've got 4 people. And I'm like, if it turns out to just be 4 people in a fucking, mid-priced hotel in the middle of rural Wisconsin, that's fine.
And when you say fizzle out, what do you mean exactly in the way that, like, how did it not come to fruition?
It didn't come to fruition just for various reasons. Like, there just weren't enough people to get, like, a nice cabin, and also it's really hard to get people to commit to spending the money, and, like, you got to do it up front, or you have to have at least, like, with Airbnb, it's like you have to have, like, half the money up front, and then just, like, the scheduling didn't work, like, we could get 3 people for one time or like 4 people for another time, but we couldn't get like 8 people for all the time.
Sure.
So it wasn't even like, I guess, fizzle out. It was just like, for whatever reason, it didn't work to do it exclusively with either group of people that I knew. Mm-hmm. So.
And how much money did you need up front? About, give or take. It's been a while. But.
So this hotel was like $95 per room. That was like a 4-person room. It might have even been cheaper because it was like, I think, and I did this like, I had been thinking about it, I think, since like, I saw the pictures of you posting of like retreat number 3, which was like September 2022. We ended up doing it over Memorial Day weekend of May 2023. Mm-hmm. But I only announced it in like April. So it didn't give a lot of people a lot of time, but I was like, this is a 3-day weekend. It's Memorial Day. A lot of people have time off of work.
Yeah.
We had the cars. That was a big thing. And just like, I was like, I know people are really interested in this. Everybody like talks about they want to go on these retreats because the pictures look so good. And like, yeah, it's very fun.
Let me flip through a couple of these here.
Oh, yeah.
This is from the winter one. But yeah, I mean, I asked like money because I think people are always curious about that. Where
Oh yeah.
I asked for $500 a person for what ended up being maybe like 6 nights, and then we had like a Columbus sort of stay over where you kind of had to figure out where you were going to stay. And so for some people that was just like getting a hotel room, and like that added to the cost. But initially what it was, I mean, it really was just like me asking people, just like you were, where it's like, here's this close cohort of people I already know. And then like maybe a handful of people that I really were kind of like, I have no idea how this person acts in the way of like if they have any kind of like interpersonal skills. So it's kind of, I don't know, but I was really interested in like just meeting them and like getting to know their work. So it was sort of like I'm gonna like make a guess on this person just because like I think that they're someone that I legitimately want to like spend a lot of time with and like pick their brain. And now like as I'm planning what will I think be like what the 4th retreat is, it's like I know I've kind of like assembled just enough like word of mouth where people just trust me to go like to ask alumni to be like, okay, if you want your spot on the next one, just give me the money kind of even before I have the place, and then I can use that to then secure the dates instead of it being like a really open time window.
That's smart.
But it's like you can only do that, unless you have like a reputation of just like
you got the track record of those 3 successful retreats behind you.
And that's, it's difficult, if you have like a credit card with a high enough limit where you can just put like half of an Airbnb charge on it, where, I mean, with some of these bigger ones that I've done, it is like $4,000 or $5,000 because, it ends up being like 8-10 grand for the whole thing because there's, 30 people almost who are coming.
Oh, damn.
But I don't think we've actually hit 30, but we've hit, no, maybe I'm like completely lying, I'm tired. I think it ends up being, okay, I mean, I'm lying. I'm thinking of like with the tabling event after. I think we had like maybe 17 people, including me, at the last one, and that was like a little bit big, where it felt a little hard to wrangle at times. But yeah, I mean, it goes up because inflation or whatever. In terms of probably gonna be asking for about $600, and Hocking Hills, I think we're honestly probably gonna be priced out of. So it's like looking at other locations in Ohio that are similarly scenic. But in the way of like, okay, how do I make this happen? I think like having a really big vehicle and then finding other people with cars.
Totally.
Having a Costco membership is really important, I think, if you're going to offer food. Did you offer like meals included at all? Because you're at a hotel. You can really cook, could you?
No. So that was the thing. I was like, okay, well, this isn't going to be quite like the Hocking Hills retreat because I didn't have the money to do like food for everybody, and we didn't have a kitchen, but a hotel has free breakfast. So I was like, okay, well, I can make this really cheap, and then just for 3 days, people can survive without cooking. Like there's places you can eat, there's like you can get delivery, you can bring microwave meals. We thought about sneaking in a crock pot, but ultimately didn't do that. But like, you can pack sandwiches and stuff. It's like a camping trip that lasts 3 days.
Yeah.
So I think like a hotel works for like a smaller amount of days, like maybe like, this was also like the first one that I had ever done. And like, I didn't want to...
Was it terrifying or was it...
Oh, so fucking terrifying. I was like, what if everyone hates it? What if somebody like falls down and breaks their leg, Like I was like, oh my God, So like the first thing actually I was thinking about was like, well, we need to make it like safe because as long as no one dies, it'll probably be okay. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, okay, well, everybody has to take like a COVID test before they come and like show me a picture and make sure you have your money and all that good stuff. But the thing about having a hotel is like you can just do it room by room. So I only needed to get it like in little pieces.
Right.
But obviously a cabin is preferable because you have like that space to yourself. It's prettier. You're able to cook. That's the biggest thing, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you still feel like there's like a sense of community, even though people kind of could go in their own little pods?
Well, the other thing that was really cool is that the rooms were connected so that you could put 2 rooms together and then like close the doors on them.
Oh, like a suite.
Yeah, like a suite, and like that really worked well because we would just close the doors and then like we didn't have like the hotel hallway, but like it was kind of just like everybody was just so jazzed to be with other cartoonists. Like it's because in a lot of people's normal lives, like you're not with people who are nerding out about the shit that you love to nerd out about, and that's like the main appeal of a retreat for me, or I think, you know.
Well, I think again, like in the way people will say, I can't do something like this. It's, you know, you overthink it.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, well, I don't have money. Like if you say, I don't have money for food, so I couldn't do it, and it's like, well, you could just do it without that and have people figure it out.
Oh yeah.
Like it's in the way of you know, if you don't have room in your vehicle to buy like, I think it was probably like $400 or $500 worth of groceries.
Oh yeah.
For just dry goods, like not even like produce, etc., like snacks. Like that big Costco run that I usually do like a week before the retreat. So, you know, if you can't do that, it's just, I think it's about just understanding your scale and your size, because ultimately if you just have like 2 or 3 friends that live like, you know, 2 states away, just do a 5-man team or whatever where you meet in the middle, and it, you know, maybe it's more of an adventure of like finding where the one restaurant is that's open past 8 p.m. or something. So
yeah, we did a lot of like, oh, there's a Walmart in this town? Okay, good, fine. We have a store. We can survive. Like, and they had a grill at the hotel that was like, it was a terrible grill. It took us like 2 hours to get it hot enough. But like we had a grill, so like we had a grill one night. And like, you know, I kind of felt comfortable, well, I mean as comfortable as I could be like doing the retreat because I had organized the Zine Fest, which was kind of, I would say, like the same philosophy you're talking about. Is like, just fucking go out and do what you can. Even if it's a small thing, you're still doing a thing, and people will appreciate it, and then the next one can grow, and you can do that thing that you really wanted to do on the next one. You just gotta start somewhere.
And like when you make a Zine Fest, it's not like you need to like really go around and tell everyone how to sell their shit, right?
Exactly.
It's like people show up and know what to do.
Yeah.
In the way of like, you don't need to like make friend games or like make a bunch of like different errands to get people to know each other. Like, I don't know if you did any kind of like introductory thing just to kind of start things off so everyone just knows names and pronouns, but then it's like, go into your weird little, you know, little bubbles and conversations, and you know, it's just, from there, it's just done, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of things went wrong during the retreat. Like, I was the last person to show up at the retreat because we had to go to Milwaukee first. Yeah. And I was like, oh, this will take like an hour out of the way. And it was like 3 hours, 4 hours. So we get there at like 11 at night. Everybody else, it helped that I had some really good friends that I had known for years that were along on the trip. Like, my friend Riley, who used to be my roommate, and like some other friends. I was like, can you guys hold down the fort until we get there, just like chill out, and there was a pool, so that was really nice. Just like go in the pool, chill out, go show each other your sketchbooks, you know, talk about art, and you know, it's not ideal, but at least we got the retreat there.
Well, and you were at the winter retreat. I did that. I mean, everything went wrong initially, where I'm curious is like, you know, you as an attendee.
But as an attendee, we were like, I don't care. I'm just happy to be here. I want to talk about cartoons. Like, I want to talk about comics. Like, that's what I want to do. And
so for people that don't know, in the way of, we had a big ice storm, and this is where I maybe will never do a winter retreat again. And that I think people bonded the most on that retreat is like, so I've done 2 in the summer and then 1 in the winter, where because of the circumstances, I think people were like bros for life because of like what they had to just do in terms of changing venues. You couldn't have
designed like a better team building exercise than, okay, we got to make this entire camp go to the city.
Yeah.
Like
we had a cabin. We had a gorgeous lodge. It was not a cabin, it was a lodge. It was amazing, and there was an ice storm maybe a week before it, like, or a week and a half, like some amount of time where you think that everyone had their shit together, because like the roads would be plowed and like, you know, everything would have thawed and it would have been fine. But I got a call the night before, and you know, I have like, you know,
the night before
16 people's $12,000 worth of people's money And I get a call the night before from like the owners of the lodge. We're like, okay, so you don't have any water, the power's not working, so we're canceling your reservation, and we're just going to move you into this, they basically said, sorry, we're refunding you. People are already on their way there. And I'm like, oh, no. What you need to do is you need to give me another lodge. And they don't have one that's really big enough for everyone. So we ended up in a smaller one. And
I thought it was a fine size, to be honest, but yeah.
But objectively smaller than the first one, which was like it had a heated pool in the back. Like it was luxurious, and it had way more space where no one was sleeping on top of each other. And so everyone arrives, new address in hand. And I have been a camp counselor before. Like I have some experience in the way of having done at least one retreat before, where I withhold the information about like what's going on because we could only stay there for a couple days. So they were like, we can put you in the smaller one, but not like past Thursday. So really quickly we go on Airbnb, and I have all these other people in Columbus that are hearing this problem too, and are like sending me links to things that might work, and hopefully we'll get the refund in time where we can kind of afford this other spot or whatever. But everyone gets there and we sit down and like, okay, here's the deal. So it's kind of like, if any problems arise, it's just not waving your hands in the air and chicken with your head cut off and freaking out, but just delegating to say, okay, you've all been so patient and given me all your money. Here's the plan. Here's plan B. And I think I'm quoted to something to the extent of like, if you're going to be an asshole about this, I'll be an asshole to you back.
Yeah.
I was just like, it's already managed. It's going to be a little sweaty in terms of moving all of these dry goods and everyone's belongings. But once we're set, like once we do this like thing that's going to be really sweaty and awful for like maybe an hour and a half, then we'll have our new spot. And it was, I think just because of that, like you said, everyone just like, instead of like wandering around like how, I don't know, and this is where maybe you've had this with the retreat where people ask you like, how can I help you? How can I help you? Over and over again. People just act and like know where to go and, picking up shit, and we're going up the stairs, and it was it was fine ultimately. So and everyone had a blast. So, and that was during Omicron, and somehow no one got sick. So
that was amazing. Like nobody got sick, and like it was really fucking fun. It that retreat inspired me to move to Chicago because I was like, I need to be around cartoonists more, like all the time. But then it was funny because like in between me moving to Chicago, which I decided like maybe the week after that retreat, like and moving, I did finally find like more cartoonists in Minneapolis. And like Minneapolis is like exactly. It's like really now I needed this 2 years ago. Yeah. But like I think it's like good. Like, I've never been a camp counselor, but I've been a waitress. I've managed Zine Fest. You need some sort of event planning. Well, you don't need, but it helps to like be in situations where shit goes bad. Yeah. And
would you say you've like gained a lot of like self-esteem and confidence from having done these sorts of things in any way?
Oh, totally. Yeah. Like, and also like you kind of like a lot of times like it's. Not everybody gets to be in a position where they're like the manager or the boss of a thing, and like you come away with like, oh, this like Zine Fests are way harder to organize than I thought. Retreats are way harder to organize than I thought. Like, but it's also like, fuck yeah, I did this. So
and ultimately it's worth it. So.
Yeah, and also it's like if you've never done one before, you can still do it. Again, it's like. Get a hotel, get like, hey, can we go to your Aunt Mary's house for a weekend and like, just find some sticks on the ground and like make a horse or something. That doesn't make any sense, but you know what I mean. So.
But I think part of why I'm evangelical about other people doing them and organizing them being that, you have experienced to the extent of like how it kind of can not like change everything in your life, but like, it kind of does in the way that it like, does like affect how who you can actually be around when you're at shows like this, and who you can like rely upon as far as just like calling upon like, oh, can I stay with you? Or like, can we just like all travel together to the party or whatever? But, ultimately it's fraught because we're sort of caught in the group of people we hang out with, and the kind of like comics that we make and like how that kind of like influences our sort of curatorial decisions for doing it, where it's like there's this sort of like, you guys are gatekeepers, or, you know, like, or why don't you know this amazing art? Why didn't you ask them? Or, you know, there's probably people that you wanted to have on your retreat, and for life reasons or money or, you know, whatever. It's
so many reasons, and so many people that, or people where it's just like, well, again, it's like, I don't really know you, and like, we're all gonna be sleeping in a room together, and shit might go bad, and it's like, I need to know that you don't freak out in a weird situation.
Shit can go wrong with people that all are best friends, you know, so
exactly.
It's always tricky where, you know, we can only do so much, and we're just individuals, where it's like, although I do feel the love and support of the whole like Columbus comics community when I put something like this together, it's, you know, ultimately on your credit card if, you know, something really fucks up with a flat tire or something. So with, you know, the ability to like think small and think, you know, maybe just 1 or 2 states over, the more people that do things like this, you know, the more that, you know, you just grow your network of like, you know, more people kind of coming out and coming in a way that it just doesn't feel forced, you know, a way that just feels like just intuitively like we're all just, you know, very understanding of the fact we're all kind of doing the same thing, and it feels fun to like plan other events and things. So like you were saying, it's like there's, you know, the Midwest scene, and then there's like the East Coast scene, and then there's like, you know, maybe I don't know this many cartoonists from California or something like that. So if they have a retreat over there and then they post pictures, it's like, oh yeah, who's this? Who's that? Or like, and then there's like a zine event at the end. You can go to that zine event and meet a whole bunch of cool people. Right.
Yeah.
So it's just always, you know, you don't want to necessarily rely on any one person to be the linchpin in what is information. Because, I mean, we've done what we've done our way, and that's not the only way to do it. So.
Oh, for sure. Like, I mean, before the retreat that I organized, I asked you a ton of questions. I asked Liz Yerby a ton of questions, and like, you know, you both handle food differently, and then I handled food a different way because of the things that I had and just like, you know, what I wanted to do. And the diversity in having more retreats is going to bring more ideas into the fold, and then we all get to hear about them, and then maybe it's like, oh, that's a really good way to do meal plans, like, you know, or like have an event or whatever, like, I know I already have ideas for the next one. I want to do one in April at the same place, maybe, but at a cabin.
Okay.
So.
Is that the kind of thing that, you know, if somebody approached you on the show floor at CXC and like...
Oh, I can give them more information. I just like, again, it's like I don't have all the money to like solidify the dates yet, but I know it's going to be in April. I know it's going to be 5 days. And I know it's going to be around House on the Rock and Taliesin, which is like a Frank Lloyd Wright house.
Cool.
Yeah, Southwest Wisconsin is kind of ideal for like me because like it's halfway kind of between Minneapolis and Chicago. So like if people live in one of those places, they can get there. And also if you want to fly in, you know, to Chicago, you can like carpool with people.
Right.
And I don't know, and just like there's House on the Rock, there's like this Frank Lloyd Wright place, there's like national parks, there's this really weird sculpture garden called like Dr. Evermore's Sculpture Garden, and it's just like this guy who I think worked at House on the Rock, and he got all these giant pieces of metal that made like 3-foot or 3-story tall sculptures, and he's like, oh, this is the radioactive love gun, and it pours like level 8 space rays into your brain, and like, oh yeah, that's really cool.
Dude.
Yes,
We're all gonna get level 8 space rays at the retreat.
Yeah, it was pretty dope. It was just like, wow, I would have never heard of this, and like, we didn't even plan to go there. It was like my friend Dan was on the trip, and he was like, hey, you want to go to the sculpture park? And I'm like, what do you mean sculpture park? So, you know, oh, it's also in like Amish country, so like we saw Amish people like just hanging around.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and I think that that open time and the way of just like letting people do what they want and like giving them express permission is like amazing for that.
Yeah, and also one thing that I liked from your retreats like was like the option of like, if you're feeling tired and you don't want to go to like the museum or the masseuse or something, you can just like hang out and like take a nap.
Yeah.
People need their alone time. Some people are like extroverts, like they want to be talking all the time. Other people need to like chill.
And some people like need permission where it's like, I feel like I'm going to miss out. Or it's like, no, just go do whatever you want. Like, it's not a big deal. We're all going to still be here. And it's not, there's always going to be things you miss. But
yeah.
And I think, again, like the Midwest being like so much cheaper where like things like this are more possible. I know like with Liz's retreat that they did, I think there's obviously still like little bits.
I know they did theirs in February because it was like that's
that
the cheapest.
Much cheaper. Yeah. There's times of the year where it's easier to not only fly certain places but also to like rent certain facilities. If you don't do it on a weekend, a lot of the time, like it's that much cheaper because like that Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
That's
actually does like almost double the price sometimes. Where if you think about maybe like a holiday weekend, but then you start the retreat before or after or something where then people have like a little bit of extra time to like get to the place. That can be helpful to think about if you're trying to plan something like that. But
yeah, definitely look at like, is there like a change in like the seasonal rate of summer versus the spring for cabins? Like a lot of times they're cheaper in like April or May or something like that.
And I would say in the way that I'm usually kind of leaning towards something that's a little bit more like a hotel in the woods versus, outhouses with like a rustic cabin.
Oh, yeah.
You also think about just if you want to just advertise what you're interested in doing very specifically. So that way, there's no questions about it with that way where, you're going to get people that are not at all interested in being in the middle of nowhere, the woods. But if there's a Walmart 20 minutes away, that's totally fine with like their level of, camping outside. So I'm sure there'd be people that'd be fine to like even like sleep in tents and then go to like a day rec center or something if they wanted to do it really, really cheap. But
oh yeah, you could. I don't know if I would go there. But
I don't think I could wrangle that either. But I like my shower being really close to my bed for when I'm doing something like with this many other people. But
yeah, it's definitely a lot about like managing expectations. Like be very clear about what it is and refunds. Make sure that you say
you can't give them.
You can't. You just can't. Like it just doesn't work. Like I don't have a lot of money to throw around on like hotels. It's like yes, sure. $600? No, I've got a pile of money out back. Like, no, I'm living paycheck to paycheck like everybody else.
Yeah.
So,
if you say what the deal is up front, nobody can really be upset. It's just like that is what it is, and you buy into it. So.
Yeah, and it's like I would say also it's like for me the hard part is like getting the idea for the retreat and getting some of the ducks in the row and fighting the urge to like announce it to everybody.
It is like, really fun.
it is like when you finally are like, okay, I know this is gonna happen and I've got enough money and we've got the hotel secured or whatever, and like you're able to announce it. It's like so fun. Like it's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do feel like Willy Wonka a little bit, just because people really are hankering to do something like that. But yeah. I mean, I can maybe scroll through a couple more of these photos too, where we had I at least with my retreat, I always really encourage everyone to bring comics that they either were like inspired by or they were just reading at the time, or they can kind of share them with just everyone. Where there's like maybe like a little reading nook.
Oh yeah.
We have the sign that I've recycled several times now.
Nice.
I think I had some of yours at the top here. I should go back at the end, but we've got some hiking going on. This is in Hocking Hills. Some Abby Kaysen. But did you feel like a lot of people took advantage of
the hikes?
The hikes and the outdoor time as much?
Well, again, I was on the one where it was like in the city half the time, so.
I mean, on your retreat, like, did everyone want to go and like go out into nature, or at least experience what the crazy hoarder house you were talking about?
Oh, everybody went to House on the Rock. Okay. That was like I advertised it as like we're going to House on the Rock. I mean, It's optional. You can So I didn't bake it into the price, which made the price really low, which meant that a lot of people were like, but then you also got people that were like, I can't even afford that. Can I just come and hang out? And I was like, no, because you got to draw a line somewhere, or else you just get like 20 people on your doorstep, and then they're going to want to hang out in the hotel, but like they didn't pay for it. And
Is this the house on the rock here?
Yeah, that is.
Okay. So.
With like, they have like a giant carousel, like a giant carousel.
Okay.
And yeah, just there's like rooms with like baby dolls and like, but like 6,000 baby dolls or something, and a lot of like marionettes that played music, like when you put a coin in them, but it would be like a whole orchestra of like weird old-timey robots. And it was, yeah, I should have put some pictures of that in there, but if you've never heard of House on the Rock and never been there, please look it up. It is, I know Neil Gaiman wrote a book called American Gods where that location figures heavily, and I think some people think it's not a real place, but it is a real place, and it's very cool. And I think it's like, tickets are like $33. It's like an attraction. And no lie, I think if we were there for like 6 hours, 5 hours, it's a huge place. So
just taking advantage of what's there. It's awesome.
Yeah, and it's like, that's like the best day trip if you live in like Minneapolis or not a day trip, but like a weekend trip. The other thing about the Don Q Inn is that they have fantasy suites. Like they'll have a lunar landing suite, and like they all have huge hot tubs. Okay. I wanted to get one of those rooms, but they're like couples only, and I was like, darn it. But like
an elaborate lie about what you're doing.
Yeah, I was like, maybe we could find like 2 people to pretend they're a couple, and then we could just like sneak in there and see whatever the hell's in the caveman room. Like, but then like the regular rooms ended up having hot tubs. So it was like, or they weren't called hot tubs. Well, actually they were just like giant concrete tubs, like circular. It was very strange. But again, like we went to this weird hotel out in the middle of nowhere, and it was really cheap. I think I did the 3-day retreat, and I charged people like $95 for it, which is like very, very cheap. And I'm not doing that again because like you need to have more of a cushion for just like, let's go out for pizza. Like,
right.
Hey, there's an emergency. Like I know on the 3rd retreat, Pete broke his teeth or something.
That happened at the beginning, but yeah, it did kind of affect the kind of getting their day of stuff, which was, I mean, Pete's a good friend of mine, but I was like, come on, man, for real. Why did you do this? So yeah, I mean, and I mean, those things are just like Murphy's Law. It's just kind of like bound to happen. As far as like doing the retreats in Hocking Hills and in Ohio, I mean, like, utilizing what's here. I don't know if we had any pictures of like either of like the cohorts of the retreats at the Billy Ireland Museum, but I was able to contact the curator there.
Yeah, that was huge.
Yeah, that big, like kind of retreat specific tour that was able to take place. And then as far as like what we were doing, kind of like still in a kind of like precarious COVID era, having some kind of outdoor tabling event where just like local people could come, utilizing this one venue, Block Fort, which had like an alleyway that we were able to like kind of construct a table apparatus in. And it's, again, like these are sort of extracurricular things where it's like if you maybe feel like you only have 1 or 2 friends and you don't have emails of people to talk to, it's not something that you have to do, but I myself am always kind of just trying to put myself in the vein of like, if I was going to something like this, like what are the amazing, cool things that I would like baked into it? Where we had like a slide of giving some massages at one point. I think I was thinking about just the fact that a retreat is supposed to be something that's relaxing. It's not supposed to be just like day drinking and like trying to obsessively draw comics the entire time. And that was sort of baked into the price as far as like getting some people to come out. And some people utilized them. Some people were like, that was the first massage they'd ever gotten in their life, and they were like, oh my God, I want to get these from now on. So, again, in the way of like, I'm going to say the retreat is life-changing. I want to take my own ego out of it as much as I can, so much as I'm just like silently pumping my fist in the corner, which I'm sure you've done.
Oh yeah, like, and like, I'm sure when you were doing the retreat, were you kind of like, I was like on edge, like a lot of the times, just like worrying. It's kind of like being the host of a party, but it's like a sleepover party.
Yep.
And also people paid kind of a lot of money to be there, and it's like you want people to have a good time, but you have to also relax and just be like, people are just chilling. They're showing each other their sketchbooks. They're talking about their favorite comics. They're like trading zines. Like, they're gonna have a good time. So it's hard to figure out for me. Like, I just want to do another retreat so I can like get better at them, and also because they're just so much fun. And I want to hear about other people's retreats, and so
it is tough to chill.
Yeah.
Because you are just like, kind of, I mean, to some extent you are being pulled in a lot of directions where it's like someone just has like a question about where something is. But yeah, I mean, like making sure meals get sorted out. I don't know if you did like sign-ups for like helper duty, not even necessarily maybe related to cooking, but like...
I didn't do sign-ups, but I feel like for the 5-day one, we definitely... That was one thing that I know that 2 people spoke to me that they were like, oh, we would have liked a little more structure. And I was like, well, what do you mean more structure? And it turned out they were like, can we have just like a printout of what we're doing on each day?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's like a great idea. Like, I would have liked more feedback from the people beyond just like, oh, I had so much fun, you know?
Right.
Like, because you always are looking for like, what specifically can I do to make the next one better? But also it's like, you got to relax and, you know, just do it. So.
And that was something that I did, and that was at least just for the way of like, I can't physically make food for 20 people. It's like, let's all sign up to sign up to help out with meals, and then it's just like clean up afterwards, so then it's just not like a big fucking mess at the end of the night every night. And people are, you know, immediately grateful they're there and just happy to like kind of pitch in and help with that. So I don't know if you have any final thoughts that you want to share maybe, or just that you will be doing a retreat. I don't know if you want to maybe solicit people to like to eagerly come in your face and be like, like, hey, can I come too, or whatever, but I mean...
No, please. So I'm going to post it on my Instagram. I'm Mehr, M-E-H-R on Instagram, and I'm posting it there, and also on my the Zine Fest that I organize and founded's page, which is Insert Name Zine Fest. Or if you want to email me at insertnamezinefest@gmail.com, I'll just... you know, keep you posted. I'm going to do like a mailing list blast when I get more things figured out.
When you post a lot of comics online too, so
I do post a lot of, I give you your bang for your buck. I post a lot of comics for free and all that. And I like to promote other people's events too. That's been really fun. But yeah, you can just email me or come up to my table or come up to talk to me after this. I don't care. Yeah. You know, but yeah, I'm going to do a 5-day retreat in April. It's going to be around Spring Grove, Wisconsin. And I don't want to talk about price because I don't know what the price is, but I know it's going to be, I can't talk about that yet.
You'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I am M.S. Harkness. I make a lot of comics. I will at some point be doing another one next year. I have no issue with people coming up to me and just shyly trying to introduce themselves as sort of like, I would like to go on the retreat, it's fine. But more than anything, I want to encourage anyone watching on the internet or otherwise to make your own retreat, because it's wonderful. It's very, it's a very stressful, wild, wonderful, life-affirming thing that I think both of us like going to when we do like organizing. So. Thank you for joining me. This is wonderful.
Yeah, thanks. It was super fun. This is my first panel ever.
Yeah, so, there you go. Fuck yeah. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, CXC.
Thank you.